Welcome to the next normal Positive Friday. My name is David, and I'm your host for this special Friday segment we have as part of the next normal. Today, we're going to talk about anger and how to let go of it. So, why do we get irritated? Why do we get angry? I have a little presentation here to share with you all. So, what do you think? Why do we get irritated? Well, usually, anger is because we are attached to expectations about ourselves or others or the world around us. And when those expectations aren't fulfilled, we feel anger. Big question I want to ask you, though, which is really at the crux of letting go of anger, is understanding if anger is ever useful. What do you think? Is it ever useful? Some of you may say that anger is useful because it helps you to manage the world around you. But let's look at a few examples of that. Let's say you're a boss and you have an employee that's coming to work late. And you see that they're at work late. And so you say, John, you got to stop coming to work late. And John may start coming to work on time because he doesn't want you to get angry at him. But what else happens? You may observe that he comes to work on time, but only when John knows that you're there to see that he's coming to work on time. And if he knows you're not going to be there to see him, he has no incentive to be on time because he's not avoiding your anger. And you may also observe, though, more importantly, that your relationship with John has started to change a little bit, that anger has damaged that relationship. So it doesn't mean, though, that you can't talk to John about not coming to work that late. You know, you can certainly say, John, I've noticed you're coming to work late. And I wanted to let you know that, that we need all of our employees to be at work on time. You know, when you come to work late, it puts a burden on the rest of the employees. And we lose customers. So it's very important for you to be at work on time. And I hope I can have your cooperation with that. And so you may observe that John starts coming to work on time more frequently, but still sometimes he's late. And then you can say to John that, John, I notice you're still coming to work late, and it's really important for you to be here on time. Is there anything that we can do to help you come to work on time? And this is offering assistance, it's offering cooperation with him. And I also want you to know too that, if we can't resolve this, we may not be able to have you continue working here because we need all our employees to come to work on time. Now, that's not being angry with John. That's just sort of stating the facts. Think about a parent as well. Let's say you have a little child, 5-year-old child, and you're in the kitchen cooking, and you have a hot stove there, and you say, Johnny, don't come near the stove. You may burn yourself. And so 5 minutes later, Johnny's coming near the stove again. You say, Johnny, I told you, don't come near the stove. You may burn yourself. And 5 minutes later, Johnny's coming back again on near the stove. And you say, Johnny, don't come near the stove. And you're doing that out of fear, maybe, and perhaps out of the fact that Johnny's not respecting your directions. And Johnny may be more cautious about coming near the stove, but again, over time, that can change relationships. And you may remember things from your childhood where an adult may have used anger as a way to control you, scare you. And you may still have some residual fears from that. So anger really is never, ever useful. It really actually causes a lot of challenges for us. There's a price for anger. First of all, it destroys our peace of mind. Let me ask you quite honestly, do you ever feel good when you're angry? You might feel a second's, you know, relief, just letting off steam. But a few minutes later, you're not feeling good at all. Anger spoils our relationships. Does it ever make our relationships better? Anger damages our health. You know, this is a big one. Expressed anger can be correlated to heart disease, and repressed anger can be correlated to eczema and cancer and depression. You know, when we get angry, this is to me a really big thing too. That when we get angry, we're also contributing to the collective anger in the world. You know, the wars, the conflicts that we see in the world are just the summation of our own collective anger. Really, the only value in anger is to show us that there's something that we need to let go of. And to me, understanding this is half of the way there to letting go of anger. If we understand what the price of anger is and keep that in our awareness, we are more motivated to pay attention to it and to take the steps to let go of anger. I know that's what's helped me in my life. There's times when I've been so angry. Um, and I still get angry sometimes, but not like I used to. And I'm sharing with you today some tools that I've used that have helped me to do that. So, what is anger in reality? What in its basis, anger is a negative emotional reaction. This is sort of clinical definition. A negative emotional reaction to people, situations, or circumstances that disturbs our peace of mind and has harmful consequences for ourselves and others. Here's something important to consider too is that anger is a habit. It's a habit we've learned over a long period of time. And every time we get angry, we're reinforcing that habit so that it's going to be harder to let go of. In order to unlearn this habit, we have to practice over a long period of time. We can't expect that the next day we're going to be free of anger. We have to practice all the tools that we learn to let go of anger. We have to practice them over a period of time to be able for them to be really powerful and useful. So here's a little exercise we can do together. It's about the process of anger. And I really love this little exercise. So, can you think of a situation where you became angry? Maybe you were stuck in traffic. Okay. And you're late for a meeting. You're now, because of the traffic, you're late for a meeting at work. So, think about that situation, your own situation where you became angry. And just take a piece of paper and write down 5 following things. What was the initial feeling? So, in the example that I gave, where you're stuck in traffic and late for work, what's the initial feeling? Well, maybe it's fear or anxiety that you're going to be late for your job. What were your thoughts? I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late. Oh, and I'm going to be late for that meeting, and I'm not going to get the contract. You might start having and people are going to be angry at me. These are all the thoughts that you start turning. What were the physical sensations? So maybe you started to breathe a little more rapidly. Maybe your heart started to beat faster. Perhaps your palms felt sweaty, or your brow might be sweaty. What were the physical sensations? What was your behavior? Maybe you started pounding on the horn or yelling at the car in front of you. And what was the outcome? Well, you were late to work. So write down these 5 things for the particular situation that you chose. What was the initial feeling? What were your thoughts? What were the physical sensations? And what was your behavior? And what was the outcome? Okay? So here's the question for you. This is the crux of the exercise here today. So you have 5 things: your initial feelings, your thoughts, your physical sensations, your behavior, and outcome. Of those 5 things, if you want to let go of anger, which do you think is the most important thing to focus on? The feelings, the thoughts, the physical sensations, the behavior, the outcome? Some of you might say the behavior, you know, that you have to control your behavior. And yeah, that's, you definitely have to control your behavior. But how do you control your behavior? What do you have to do first to control your behavior? Some of you might say the feeling. How do you change a feeling? Can you really change your feelings directly? The real answer is your thoughts. The most important thing to focus on if you want to let go of anger is focus on transforming your thinking. It's through transforming your thinking that you can begin to transform your feelings. You can begin to transform the physical sensations even by changing your thoughts. You certainly have to change your thoughts before you can change your behavior. And ultimately, changing your thoughts is going to be the most important thing to do to change the outcome. So we've talked a lot um, over the last 2 weeks about tools really to change your thinking. You know, we call this Positive Friday, and it's about tools to change your thinking into a more positive perspective. And so we're applying those same tools today to letting go of anger. So here are some tools to let go of anger. And the number one is practice. Practice. All of these tools have to be practiced. It doesn't work to just have them in your awareness. You've got to practice using them. Number one, practice acknowledging that what anger does, acknowledge to yourself the price of anger. It destroys our peace of mind, keeps us from happiness, damages our relationships, damages our health. And when we get angry, we're contributing to the collective anger in the world. And so acknowledge that. Keep that in your awareness and practice keeping that in your awareness because it will help you to pay more attention when that seed of anger comes up. Practice observing. We can begin to learn to let go of anger by observing when we start to feel this first seed of irritation. You know? And what happens when you feel that first seed of irritation is that's your opportunity to not water it, to not feed that seed. It's going to be easiest to let go of anger when it's just that little seed of anger. But as soon as we start to feed it and spin the root of that anger in our thoughts, it grows and it's going to be harder to let go of. So observe when that first seed of irritation comes and make a choice not to feed it. See the perfect soul that you are. Don't focus on the weaknesses. See ourselves and others as the perfect souls that they are. And don't focus on their weaknesses or our own weaknesses. Don't feed those negative thoughts about others. Keep a journal of your thinking. It's a wonderful way to practice observing. At the end of the night, I have a little journal and I write down where my thoughts were that day. Not a whole bunch, maybe a paragraph or two, just to practice paying attention to my thoughts. And if I was feeding thoughts of irritation or frustration or anger that day, I can observe that when I write down in that journal, and I can make a decision not to continue to feed that thought, not to go to bed with that, feeding that negative thought. Practice acceptance. You know, when we get that seed of anger, we feel that seed of anger, it's there, right? And so we shouldn't push it away and say that it shouldn't be there. We can accept that feeling is there, but make a choice to respond to it rather than to react to it. You know, we feel that seed of anger, and then we could just, let it feed all those negative thoughts. Or we could say, okay, I see you there. I understand why you're there, but I'm going to make a choice to not feed that. Know that the illusions of anger and lust and greed and ego and attachment, that's not the real me. That's the baggage that I've acquired on this journey. And if I keep that in the way awareness and know that the real me is this beautiful, loving, peaceful, joyful, wise soul, and not buy into that illusion, I have a little more power to accept the feelings that are there, but not to feed them. Know that at my core, I am that beautiful, loving, peaceful, joyful, wise, pure soul. Practice ascending and attuning. Take your thoughts to a higher place. Take your thoughts to that place of awareness of how beautiful you are. So when you have that seed of anger come, know that that feeling is part of what you're the baggage you carry from your journey. But you don't have to stay with it. You can take your thoughts to a higher place. Take your thoughts to an awareness of the beautiful, loving, peaceful, joyful being that you are. And keep that in your awareness. Also, know that our relationships are a laboratory for us to practice experiencing the bliss of our highest self. You know? When we use the beautiful part of ourselves, we feel the joy of that. We feel the bliss of that. And we don't feel that when anger disconnects us from that. So, understanding that, we can make a choice not to feed that anger. We can accept that the seed of that feeling is there, but make a choice not to feed it. Because it's going to take us away from our happiness, take us away from our power, take us away from love. So, here's a little exercise for you. Think of a situation where you became angry. And what could you do differently not to go down that path of anger? Maybe look back on that situation. You know, I think of a few weeks ago, I told you about a story when someone, when I was doing the schedule for the appointment calendar for a political official, and someone asked me to change the calendar, and again they asked me to change it, and then again they asked for another change, and again for another change. after we had to call all the people back. And then again, we had to call them all back. And again, call them all back. And I blew up on the fifth time. I just flipped my desk over. Looking back on that situation, what could I do differently to not go down that path of anger? Choose a situation from your own experience where you become angry. And using the tools that we outlined today, write a letter to yourself or a short paragraph of what you could do differently not to go down that path of anger. And use that as a teaching tool for you as you move forward on your journey. So the most important tool, though, for me, and I've said this before in our previous two classes, the really most important tool that I found to transform our thinking, and our thinking is what we want to transform in letting go of anger, is meditation. Meditation helps us in so many ways. To me, when we meditate, we are nurturing a stillness within ourselves. And that stillness gives us space where we can see and observe ourselves. We can pay attention to what's happening within. It also gives us space, that stillness gives us space to make choices about how we respond to our feelings and to the world around us. That stillness is very valuable for that reason. You know, without that stillness, it's so easy to react to things. But with that stillness, we have room to make the choice to respond. In that stillness, in that quiet meditation, we can also understand that beautiful part of ourselves, that highest self. We can recognize the abundance of love that we're connected to. We can recognize the joy that's there within us and the wisdom, the peace, and the innocence. In that silence, we can understand our connection to each other, which allows us to be a lot more compassionate, allows us to not look at others' weaknesses so much. It allows us to not be so attached to expectations about others. In silence, we understand that the same beauty that's at the core of me is the same beauty that's at the core of you. And we can understand that. And with that understanding, we are less likely to react to expectations about others, to react to others' weaknesses. And most powerfully, in silence, we can experience our connection to our divine source. Each of us is connected to an unlimited source of love, an unlimited source of peace. You know, what is God if God is not the energy of love, that unlimited energy of love? And we can really begin to get a glimpse of that through the practice of regular meditation. Okay? Okay. So, should we do a little meditation together? All right. So let's all take a nice deep breath. And I invite you to try this meditation with your eyes open. There's real benefit with meditating with your eyes open. You know, most of the time our eyes are open. And when we meditate with our eyes open, it's easier to keep that meditative awareness with us when we're walking and moving around, right? Also, if we're meditating early in the morning, if you have your eyes open, you're less likely to fall asleep. But I think the most beautiful part about meditating with your eyes open is that we're sharing that experience with the world around us through our eyes. So I invite you to try this meditation with your eyes open. But of course, if it's uncomfortable for you, feel free to close your eyes. It's okay. All right. So let's take a nice deep breath. You know, when they teach people to meditate, they often will, you need something to, it often helps to have something to focus on when you're meditating. Meditation is about focus and observation. So if you're going to focus and observe, it's nice to have something to focus and observe. And one of the easiest things to use is your breath. Your breath is always there with you. It's something that's neutral. So I invite you to begin this meditation by just taking your attention inward and observing your breath. Observe the air filling your lungs, exiting through your mouth and your nose. Each breath in, you're feeling refreshed. Each breath out, letting go of any tension. Just observing my breath. And as I observe my breath, other thoughts may come. Thoughts about maybe, am I doing this right? Or how is this going to help me? And that's fine. Or maybe thoughts about something that happened this morning, or something you have to do later today. And those thoughts may come, and that's okay. You can observe those thoughts as well. But you don't have to follow them. You can observe them and then gently turn your attention back to your breath. Just observing your breath. And as you quietly observe your breath and any thoughts that come, and bring your attention back to your breath, you may begin to be aware of a stillness that's there in the background. Not a stillness you need to create, but a stillness that is there, waiting for you to discover. A stillness that's actually always there with you. But in this moment of quiet inner observation, we have a glimpse of that stillness. And in the awareness of that stillness, I take my attention to the center of my forehead. Visualize there a tiny point of light. See it sparkling there in the center of your mind. Very small and very bright, shining out into the room. Within this point of light is the essence of you, the essence of everything beautiful. Within this point of light is a place of peace. And in the awareness of that peace, I also understand the abundance of love that I'm connected to. An unlimited, unconditional love that is available to me at any moment. I feel that love flow. I allow that love to flow through me. I feel the glow of that love. I allow it to flow through me and out into the room around me. Touching every other soul. I understand that I am an instrument. And as that love flows, I understand my connection to every other soul. It's that love that connects us all. When I see with love, I understand my connection to every other soul. And as that love flows, I take my awareness to that source of that love, an unlimited source, constant source, an eternal source, divine source. A source that is always there. And as I bring my attention back to the room, I keep my awareness with the connection to that source. Know that that unlimited source of love is always there in the universe. Using it never diminishes. In Hindi, we say Om Shanti, which means I am a peaceful soul. So I say Om Shanti, and you can say that with me. Om Shanti. I am a peaceful soul. So it's been my pleasure to share with you today. I hope we've given you some tools to let go of anger and not let it be an obstacle to your peace, to your power, to your happiness. Use the tool of practice, of attention and observation, of understanding the the cost of anger, the price of anger, and keeping your awareness how beautiful you are. Keeping your awareness that that same beauty is in every other soul. And with that, you'll be less likely to be attached to expectations about others or yourself. And you will have more power to respond with what's beautiful within you. Okay. So we hope you'll join us next Friday. And we're going to talk about letting go of anxiety, how to have a more stress-free life by managing, becoming more of a master of our thinking. Hope you can join us next Friday. Good night.